My name is Varun Kanarandam. I'm here from Iconic Mortgages. I'm here with Eric Lapointe from SingleKey.
That's right.
So we are going to talk about a lot of interesting stuff.
Oh, yeah, a lot.
And I'm very familiar with the SingleKey. I've been working, I know you guys for years, and I have introduced it to some good context as well. And first of all, thank you for being here on a Friday afternoon.
My pleasure.
So, Eric, tell us about SingleKey.
Yeah,
What is SingleKey? What do you guys offer?
Yeah, that's a big question, but the easiest way to answer that is SingleKey basically removes the risk out of renting.
Okay.
And we do that with multiple different products, but we're really focused on if ever you're buying an investment property or representing someone who is buying an investment property, anything that has to do with renting out your unit, you think of SingleKey as we're going to take as much risk off the table as possible.
Okay.
We do that with a really comprehensive tenant screening tool, which goes above and beyond your credit score and trade lines. We have a social media scan, public court document scan, past employment and addresses. Like we really have the huge picture of your prospective tenant all in one.
That's
easy,
like a
quick
pre-screen.
report.
That's like a pre-screen.
That's actually just like a screen. It's a pay-as-you-go. It's a one screen. You have all this information. So you get all that in one shot. So very good. Our second tool now is depending on when this will air, very shortly we're going to have an ID verification tool. So as you probably had the issue with, is you'll be able to upload a piece of ID. Our system will tell you if it's been manipulated or not. Same thing with PDF documents, pay stubs and employment letters. It'll be able to say manipulated, timestamps don't match, etc. So a lot of stuff now are getting vetted from our system. And then probably our biggest way to remove the most risk out of renting is our rent guarantee.
Okay.
And that's basically, we guarantee the rent if there's tenant defaults.
So if I go and tell this to someone, they say, you're out of mind. No one's
Yeah.
going to guarantee rent. It's not even possible. How they do it. Like, these are the conversation I had when I was telling about the rental guarantee. Like, how is it even possible? Like, how they can guarantee rent? Like, walk us through, like, how does the process work in the back end?
Yeah.
So it's give a little bit of a more confidence to the investors or the people looking to get the service. Right?
Think of it as car insurance. We're not insurance, and luckily, because there's a lot of compliance to it, but think of car insurance. How can car insurance get away with, totaling a car if you're only paying $100 a month? The math is there. The actuary math is there. So our fee does cover the stats of default and whatnot. So all that is the boring math actuary part of it. But how we verify is we're basically looking for a couple of criterias for tenants. And as long as the tenants are employed, and they have no bankruptcies in the last 3 years. And we look at a rent to income ratio that used to be, you don't spend more than a third on your income. Now we're putting up to 45.
Okay, so you get GDS, TDS.
That's it. And so if you satisfy those criteria, you're automatically in the rent guarantee program. We can definitely get you on there. You pay the fee, and it's as similar as what you would say insurance. It's kind of a bad word for us because it's not. We need to make sure of that. But that's all it is. You pay it once for the rest of the year, for the duration of the lease. You have peace of mind that no matter what happens, tenant defaults in XYZ months, you will be covered. You will get that rent amount from SingleKey until that person is evicted, and go get yourself another new tenant.
And do you need to purchase a service of tenant screening to have the rental guarantee?
Ideally, we do, because it's a foundation to our kind of approval process. The alternative is if you do a credit check directly from Equifax or TransUnion. No third party, because those we've seen have a tendency to be quickly manipulated or easily manipulated by a third party. So if the landlord runs or has some kind of connection with or an account with Equifax or TransUnion, you can use that. Okay. That we take that as the basis because that'll confirm to us there's no bankruptcies and all that. So ideally, run a SingleKey. You probably would want to because we give a lot more information than credit.
Especially the social media scam.
Yeah, social media and especially the court documents, right? You get criminal and civil matters that are...
So you can also see if they have any previous...
100%. Someone here in Ontario, you'll see that they had a fraud case out in BC in 2022, and it'll show up. So you'll know. So it's a lot more. But yes, you can definitely get it directly from the credit bureaus. It's also acceptable.
And how much is the screening cost?
The screen's $25.
$25. So with the $25, you
get all that. Okay. You get all that. And then obviously, depending on who's gonna listen to this or understand, is that we do also move on to more of an enterprise as well. So if you're a brokerage or you manage, that price can get a little bit lower given volume and stuff like that. But right now, if you logged on, create an account, it's $25 for that.
And what the cost of a rental guarantee?
It's 5% of the rent.
5% of the rent.
Yeah.
So Walk us through about some examples, like how you were able to help some of the investors, because that's like I'm a real estate investor. That's something that's keeping me up in the night. What happens? You can have a good tenant, but the economy is pretty bad. You can lose a job, employment. It's not like maliciously they don't want to pay me.
That's right.
But they are in a financial situation. They don't have an income coming in, and you cannot really keep up the payment. So, give us some scenarios or some example that you can think of, Eric.
Yeah. That's a good point, because a lot of people think of this as going,
it's a bad tenant.
I met them, bad tenant.
Yeah.
But I think maybe 6 months ago when we're seeing all these layoffs happening.
Absolutely,
right?
especially
We're everywhere.
Like,
holy moly, right? And then their inability to pay. So a lot of our rent guarantee clients were kind of coming up to us and saying, look, I'm sorry. They lost their job. And for us, we don't care. Did they stop paying? Yes. For whatever reason, they could be malicious or not. They're just having to go through the eviction process. We know the LTB delays are what they are, and they go for it. That's fine. We're here to protect you. And as long as the tenant doesn't pay and you're going through the eviction, you're going to get that month. So to help you sleep at night, you'll always know that no matter what kind of a good feeling you had on a face-to-face meeting with the tenant, even the tenant screening from SingleKey looked great. There's always going to be a chance of something. But the rent guarantee is what covers all of that.
Yeah, there could be like a job loss. Like
Job loss, yeah, or malicious, and we see a lot of them where they'll go through a lot of lengths to give you fake employment documents or even real documents and have someone on the other line answering, like their friend. All of that is if we approve it, we've passed and we did our due diligence, and they stop paying. No matter what they did, what kind of trickery they did, if we've approved it, that guarantee stays active. It means they fooled us, they fooled an underwrite, they fooled everyone. Doesn't matter. We're still here for you. We're still protecting you. Rent guarantee is still live and valid.
What's the process look like in terms of the eviction these days?
So the eviction is, you have to notify us, but the eviction is basically non-payment. You issue, I think, will be an N4. I'm not a paralegal, so there are some, but you issue kind of a warning saying, look, there's non-payments. I'm going to go through the eviction process. You have, I think it's 14 days to reply. And if they don't, you issue another notice, which is a little bit more forceful of, I will be asking the LTB, the Landlord Tenant Board, to set up a court date because now I want to evict you fully. And then you got to wait. The eviction process is 90% waiting right now. So you do 14 days for a notice, another week later, another month, and then it's, we'll see you in 7 months in court, see you downtown. And it's just waiting and waiting and waiting. And then once you get your court date, half an hour, it's done.
And if someone have this service, correct me if I'm wrong, your paralegal kind of handles everything. So there's no commitment for the investors or the landlord to get involved through this eviction process.
No, and also our BDRs who are responsible for you in the beginning also guide you through it without even going to the paralegals. But it's part of the coverage. It's part of the rent guarantee. There is a $1,500 paralegal coverage, which for us has never been exhausted. And you tap in, you let us know. No matter where you are in the country, we have partners throughout the country, and it's geographically based. So you're in BC, we have our BC paralegal help you out. You're in Ontario, you're in Barrie versus Mississauga. And they'll walk you through it. They'll represent you. No cost to you, up to $1,500. And another peace of mind of knowing that they know what they're doing. No mistakes will be done. You'll get your judgment at the end.
So the main reason I have you here, because I work with a lot of investors, this is something keeps up in the night, and they don't want to get into the market, even though there's a lot of people are scared. What happens if we don't get the tenants? So can you share some life experience or like what something stuck to your head about what the worst scenario you dealt with, and you were able to give a peace of mind to the investors? Yeah,
the biggest stories I've seen is some of our clients, they get into this investment property and doing a long time, and their leverage is what it is. Now with the interest rates rising, mortgage payments are getting a little bit harder to go through, given that portfolio. So now even one tenant defaulting, if not 4 out of is now an immense hit to your cash flow and your finances. And that's what we've been seeing now. And that's why the rent guarantee is getting more and more popular, because we're moving less from kind of, I'm scared my tenant's going to be bad, to I already have 12 units, but now I'm getting a little bit tighter on my cash flow. Even if one comes up, I'm going to be in a tight spot. I need protection.
I feel you.
Right? So that's what we're really attacking now. And so you can also put a rent guarantee on existing tenants as well. So you already have a tenant. We could put it on there. There's an extra step for approval, which is basically they need to have paid on time since they've been there.
So you need a payment history.
A payment history, a log, whatever system you use, but have them on board. So we've seen a lot now where they're starting to onboard their entire portfolio. Just to be, look, I'm
They don't want to take any risk. It's a risk management.
Exactly. And they're like, before I could take that risk, but now my interest rates are climbing and climbing and climbing. I can't take that risk anymore.
Correct.
For 5%, when you think about it, 5% is a bit more than half of a month's rent.
Okay.
That's all it costs for the entire year. Yeah. And we cover up to $60,000, right? So you're covered no matter how long it takes to get that tenant out.
So, and correct me if I'm wrong, the 5% they pay you, or the investors pay you, that's a tax write-off as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's why it's even better. Complete tax deductible, no HST.
No HST on it.
Yep.
We chatted earlier. You were telling me there's tools and technologies in place to help the new to Canada.
Yeah.
Someone's coming from overseas, which is big as
huge
market for the tenants. So can you elaborate a little bit about what kind of services you offer, or how can you help those new to Canada individuals?
Yeah. This is where that like non-modesty comes up, and we get to say, you know, we have the first and only international credit check in Canada, but it's true. And this started, I think, last month. It was a long time in the making. And, you know, international people coming in, and you're a landlord, there's no real history on them in the Americas, in the US or Canada. And so what we did now is we have a way to go into their home country's credit bureau, get the information, and put it in the same format that you would get an Equifax or TransUnion. So now any international people coming in, you're not relying on other metrics to, you know, kind of determine their risk. You could treat them as a domestic and say, that's okay. I'm going to run an international credit check on with SingleKey. I'm going to get the credit bureau from India, Argentina, wherever. And that's my basis. And you go down the same process of elimination of, is this the right tenant or not? So we've had that. It's launched. It's getting a lot of steam there. And then the other product, which is rolling out slowly, is what we call the tenant passport.
What is that?
That's basically newcomers are coming in. Even if they do an international credit check, it looks good, but they have no job yet, right? There's no real financial kind of thing. And usually, you know, when you're a student here, you ask bank of mom and dad to sign as a co-signer or guarantor. This is us being their co-signer. And
so you guys are...
we would co-sign for them. So it's a way that international student will come here. They'll pay a fee. Obviously, the tenant passport fee to us is basically, I don't know, 8 to 12%, which comes out to, I think, a full month's rent. But we're going to go ahead and say, no worries, on your application, you're now co-signed by SingleKey. And so no more of these, you know, illegal, legal, give me 6 months rent up front.
I was going to ask you, because a lot of these new to Canada, they have to give 12 months rent up
12 months rent, 6 months, show me you have 15 grand in the bank. Like it's insane. Whereas there you go, okay, I'm going to pay a month's rent to SingleKey, and now they can't ask me for anything. I got a co-signer who's domestic with a long history of authoritative payments.
So may I ask you, what is the benefit for SingleKey by doing this?
Risk out of renting and help in the rental market. We've been focused on that since the beginning.
Okay.
And we focused on getting the risk away. But now with newcomers, we're seeing, you know, the news is saturated with this and immigration coming up, is that it's also creating a kind of housing bubble, and it's hard for newcomers to even find places. And so we kind of introduce new products to help them get into the market as well. So we're all about renting. We always have, always will be.
So this is a very unique product.
Oh, yeah.
It's a very unique product.
Absolutely. That's why it's getting rolled out slowly. We want to make sure when we do a massive launch that it's ready, it's proven, we can do it, financially viable, et cetera. But we have been starting here and there, especially with countries that we can do the international credit score on.
Correct.
Right? But yeah, it's very unique. And this is why, you know, we're trying to just help the rental market and protect landlords and remove risk.
So it seems like you guys have a lot of things in place to actually not to just to help the investors. You guys have a lot of things, a lot of tools and programs, the products to help the tenants as well to be in a better position.
Absolutely. So think of it. We help the landlords eliminate risk, but we also help the landlords say, maybe I should be renting to this person. They have all this stuff from SingleKey that actually makes them into a viable tenant.
Viable tenant, absolutely.
And this is what we really want to do. And sets us aside from some of our competitors, especially on the tenant screening side, is that some competitors do screenings for employment or immigration. Or we're focused on tenants. Tenants only, tenants first. And so our goal, and my goal as Chief Commercial Officer, is here in Canada, when you think about renting a place or rentals, you think of SingleKey to help you out with 1,000 products. And get me in 6 months, I'll probably have 4 more products ready as well. Yeah. But it's all going to be towards landlords and landlord focused.
The reason I want to chat with you guys is that it's a biggest fear for anyone to get into the real estate investing.
Getting in, already in, you know, thinking of it's.
A lot of people see opportunity, but they're scared with all the horror stories, what happens. But having some kind of risk mitigation, similar to what you guys offer, is give a confidence for a lot of people to kind of get into the rental market.
Yeah, and then CBC and the news doesn't help either.
They only give us a horror story.
It's fear mongering, and I don't want to say fear mongering because it's true. These stories, we hear thousands every month.
Yeah.
But some of them are getting picked up, and now it's becoming more public that there is a lot of risk to rent now as a landlord, and not a lot of protections or help. And this is why we came in.
Can you share one story, the one story that stuck to your head, that this is crazy? Like, can you share one experience? You don't need to give me the names or anything. Just
this is crazy. It's more like a dagger to the heart.
Okay.
And it was a daughter inheriting a house that had a mortgage on there from her mother. Could barely afford it, but started renting it because she had to. Has kids and all that, and is living paycheck to paycheck. So this rental was incredibly important. And it turned out to be a professional tenant.
Okay, professional tenant. I love that.
It's a professional tenant. She wasn't part of SingleKey. She came to us after because of this story, and we got her on. But the tenant changed the locks and Airbnb'd the unit. So now her house that she inherited, that she needed the rent to make ends meet for the mortgage, was now being rented out in Airbnb by someone who is not who they say they are. And the process of that, it goes to Airbnb arbitrage, is absolutely atrocious. I mean, just think about it. You're renting out your unit. The last thing you think is someone changing the locks. And
you don't even have access.
And you're seeing random people every 3 days in your own unit, let alone a unit
you don't even know who they are.
You don't even know who they are. You can see the listing. You can probably book it yourself, but you don't know where they are. It took us a long time, a lot of paralegal help. We helped her out. Even if she wasn't a client, we knew that she was going to be at the end, so we helped her out. But that was always one that stuck to me, and I'm like, the cojones on some of these people to just change a lock and Airbnb a unit, mind-blowing.
Wow. Well, let me ask you this. Did you guys end up paying the rent for the tenant? I mean, the landlord?
She wasn't on. What we did is we gave her a prorated year for free when she timed up, because it was just absurd, the story.
Yeah.
And we saw her financials and said, look, put on the rent guarantee. We'll walk you through it. We'll waive the fee. And off we go. But that was one of the stories that sticks to me the most.
Can you comment on what is the trend on the rental market right now, especially in the condo market downtown? What I'm seeing is there's a lot of vacancies and or a lot of demand.
I'm seeing a lot of vacancies, but not a reduction in rent. And I think that's what's creating a problem. Interest rates are what they are, which causes owners to freak out a little bit. And they're also locked into certain rates, which means they can't go down on rent.
You got it.
Right? So there's this big bubble of an increased vacancy with no decrease in rent. They're just creating a lot of free units just sitting there. But the condo market is what it is that it's so fluid, and all it takes is a good economic uptick, and all these condos will be filled.
Yeah.
Right? Condos usually follow the strength of the economy almost perfectly, mirrors it. So if you have a condo and you're struggling with that, just think about the economic times. Maybe think about decreasing your rent a little bit to get someone. But that's what we're seeing now, especially in the condos. Single-family homes is different. The demand is always there for single-family
How are you finding the demand and the supply and the vacancies?
It's supply now. It comes to the fact of you own a house or you own 2 or 3 or whatnot. And that's maybe a seller's market, and you can get a really good price for your house to sell. Well, what are you going to buy after that? You're stuck in that same loophole. You're going to have to buy maybe something even more expensive with a higher rate than what you probably locked in 4 years ago. Okay. So no one's truly selling as much as people want. The demand's always going to be there for single-family homes, but supply is hard to come by.
Is there anything else you want to add on to the audience?
No, that's it. If you're thinking of renting or buying a place to rent, just think of SingleKey. We'll take care of a lot of that risk. Then you'll actually really enjoy being a landlord.
Perfect. And that's the whole point of having you here, to give a peace of mind for the past current investors and the future investors as well.
That's right.
And if someone will reach out to you or SingleKey, what's the best way to get hold of you guys?
On our website, there's 1,000 buttons on book a meeting, book a call. just do that. We have a huge sales staff, myself included. I dip in that too, so you might get me if you're lucky. But go on the website, you'll find wherever you're talking about kind of rent guarantee or tenant screening. You'll be able to talk to someone very quickly.
Perfect. Thank you for your time, Eric.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.